Welcome to One Cool Thing, PC Mag's daily show on Facebook, where we show you one cool thing which we are testing out in the PC Mag labs. I am Sasha Segan, this is Jim Fisher. We have Evan on the con today because Pete, I think, is on vacation or something, but in any case, Evan is taking your comments, your questions, anything you want to know about any kind of technology, please ask us, and we will do our best to answer. Now, the product we have today actually answers a question which we have often gotten here on One Cool Thing and its predecessor show, Random Access, which is, whatever happened to cheap point-and-shoot cameras? Well, let me show you. This is what happened to cheap point-and-shoot cameras. Right here, right here. What happened to cheap point-and-shoot cameras, Jim?
Well, mostly they died, but there's some hangers on, and we've looked at a few models. And I was trying to find one that was good, and I would recommend someone who doesn't have the latest smartphone or, you know, isn't really up on tech, but still wants the old school point and shoot with a long zoom lens, a built-in flash, and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
For not much money.
So wait. You know, record scratch reverse. Let's start off with the question of who is the market for a cheap point and shoot camera now, because so many people have smartphones.
I hate to say grandparents, but grandparents are definitely part of the market, and parents as well. You know, who maybe are a little older and have kids in college and have not yet gotten the grandchildren, but maybe rocking an older phone that's either maybe still be a feature phone or an older smartphone that doesn't have a great camera. Also, folks who want to have a zoom lens, because this has got a 10x zoom, so you can go to 24, which is wider. As wide as most Samsung smartphone cameras, and zoom into 240mm, which is a nice long telephoto. Now doesn't have the bells and whistles. It doesn't have blazing fast burst rate. It only does 720p video. It is a 20 megapixel sensor, so you get nice, sharp, crisp images outdoors in bright light. Indoors, you're going to use the flash, and that 10x zoom indoors. It's not really that bright. It's like an f5.9 or 6.3 on the narrow end, so there's not a lot of light coming in when it's zoomed all the way in.
Now let's mention first of all the name of this product. This is the Canon PowerShot Elph 190IS.
Yes.
The price, it's $160, right?
Yes.
It's
sells for a little less.
Okay. And then I have another question for you, but let's take a question from the audience first.
Fahad Murtaza asks, are point and shoots better in quality?
Then what? This point and shoot, let me tell you, this point and shoot, in most scenarios, is not better in quality than my Galaxy S8.
At the wide angle.
Okay.
Yeah, the Galaxy S8 is going to get you a sharp image in dim light with an f1.8 lens, I think it's got on, or f2 lens, something bright. It's going to do 4K video. It's going to do 10 frames per second burst shooting at least. You know, it's going to have a big touch screen. This has got a 2.7 inch low res LCD on the back. But this is $160. The Galaxy S8 is $800, $900?
$800.
Okay.
So now, when you were looking for good point and shoots to talk about, good inexpensive point and shoots to talk about, now, in the past, when I've tried to do this kind of story about phones, you go onto Amazon, and there's this like swamp of weird no-name Chinese brands that half work.
I ignore those.
Is it the same thing in cameras?
Yeah, there's a lot of wacky brands. I looked at one Chinese brand, which is JK Imaging, which sells cameras under the Kodak name. I looked at one of their $80 point and shoots. Did not get a good review. It might have been 2 stars, 1.5, somewhere in that range, 2.5 in that zone. I looked at a Nikon. I looked at a couple Nikons. I looked at the A300. Which had a lot of problems for being inexpensive. Too many to recommend. I looked at the W100, which we gave a decent review to, but not an editor's choice because that's a cheap waterproof camera. This is not rugged or waterproof. We looked at the previous version of this a couple years ago, the 170IS, which did not have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC, which this adds. And this is, kind of just a minor step up from that, and we liked the 170IS when we reviewed it, so I'm like, well, let's look at the Canon, and as part of this is Canon's most expensive camera, under $200, I believe, if you want to break it off that way. It's a solid performer. It does within the limitations of what it is.
So you said it has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC. What can you do with those on this?
You can take any image or video from this and send it wirelessly over to your smartphone.
To an app on the smartphone, is
Yeah,
that
the
it?
Canon Camera Connect window
Okay.
app. And you can use said app to remote control the camera. Control the zoom of the lens, take a picture, start a video recording. So you can set up on a tripod and use your phone as a remote if you want.
But you also have your traditional SD card in here.
You're always going to need that.
And
you can't just have it tethered to the phone and send images over. There's some other Wi-Fi features Canon puts in the camera that no one uses. You can set it wirelessly to a printer. You can send images to another Canon camera with Wi-Fi.
That's confusing.
Why you would want to do that, I don't know. But
Okay.
I think most people are just going to set it up with their phone.
Okay. So now, how's the low light performance? Because when people, especially with less expensive smartphones, are taking pictures with their smartphone cameras, I will tell you that is where cheap smartphone cameras tend to fall down.
It's a CCD sensor, so it's not CMOS. That said, it does pretty decent quality through ISO 800, which is those cheap smartphones are probably a stop worse off than that. They're probably topping out ISO 400. However, this is an f3.3 lens at the wide end. So if your smartphone has an f2 lens, that's a stop and a half of light, which means 125% difference in light gathering capability. So your smartphone's going to has a lower f-stop, which means it gathers more light. So it will use, if this is shooting at ISO 800, the similar smartphone might be at like ISO 250 or ISO 400, somewhere in that range. So you get a cleaner image with less noise in the same situation.
Now, the way this low-end stuff tends to work is, I bet the 170 is still on the market, right?
Yes, the 170 I believe is still available. I don't know how much cheaper it is. It's not that much cheaper, and it doesn't have the Wi-Fi, and I think it's got a slightly shorter zoom lens. I think it has an 8x, if my memory is not too fuzzy on that one, because it's been a couple of years since we looked at it.
As opposed to a 10x here.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions out there?
Yeah, someone just wanted you to reiterate the price.
$159.99, usually sells for about $150.
And this is going to be the kind of thing that I bet retailers are going to be putting this on sale left and right. I mean, when Black Friday comes around, I bet it'll be $99.99 for 20 minutes.
It could be. Very well could be. The other thing we should mention is it has a real flash. Your smartphone is going to have that little LED flash that, is good maybe for this long, but then is useless. This is, you've got a flash in here that you can light up a room with. It's a little tiny flash. It's going to give you red eye in certain situations. It does have red eye reduction to turn, to change the curtain and to make that change. But it's going to be a much better traditional camera flash than what you get with most smartphones.
And we've got, once again, since this is a dedicated camera, even a point and shoot, it has a tripod mount, which you don't see on a lot of smartphones.
Very true.
Yeah, and that's especially when people are. I see a lot of tourists carrying little portable tripods around New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and like a little Gorilla Pod or something is very useful to have in New York City because you can wrap it around things and put it places. And assuming no one runs up and steals your camera, you can get a quick shot of you in the Empire State Building without a selfie stick or anything
Doesn't
else.
happen in New York as much as it used to, that's for sure.
No, and people are more likely to steal a smartphone than steal a little tiny camera like this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this at 160, this is the least expensive camera we recommend.
Yeah.
Right? What would be the next step up from this? Is it one of those ruggedized cameras that we were looking at last week?
It depends on which direction. You can go a few different directions. You can go for a long zoom premium camera with a CMOS sensor that is going to give you a little bit better low light, a much better might fit and finish is better, you're going to have a better screen. Some of them have a little viewfinder in them. There's a Sony we like, the HX90V, which is also got GPS. It's available for less. I think that sells for like $450. It's also sold as the HX80. Same camera without the GPS is like $50 or $100 less. It's pretty good super zoom.
As a high-end smartphone owner, the zoom is really what I'm missing. Like if I say the number one thing I would want to actually get a different camera for would be the ability to have optical zoom.
Yeah, I think that Sony's got like a 30x lens on it. Then you can go to rugged, which is a short zoom, but you can break it, throw it, take it underwater. The Olympus we looked at the other week, the TG5 is our favorite. That's $450. Or you can go to big sensor, the 1-inch sensor class. Canon's got Canon has a G9X Mark II, which you were admiring off stage earlier. which has got a short zoom lens, but it's got a big sensor, 4 times the size of a sensor in a Samsung, or in this camera, it's like 6 times the size of an iPhone sensor. It's in surface area with a f1.8 lens. It's only like a 28 to 84 millimeter zoom, and is dim on the telephoto end, but it's pocketable. It's really good image quality. You can get the bokeh effect.
And it just has that kind of low UI barrier to entry thing.
That's a touchscreen camera.
The familiarity of the compact camera.
Yeah. That's got a mostly touch interface. It has a lens control ring, so you can kind of change exposure settings physically as well. And then if you want to go up from there, our favorite point and shoot is the Sony RX3, or Sony RX100 Mark III. These things that have weird model names sometimes, and that is around $800. It's got a 24-70 f1.8 to 2.8 zoom. It's got a little pop-up viewfinder. It's a really phenomenal performer. It's also a 1-inch class.
Okay. Now, by the way, look at how simple this UI is. I mean, this is. I feel like this user interface hasn't changed since about 2004.
Probably not. And most people are going to leave it in full auto mode. It works well there. The flash will fire. You can turn the flash off in full auto mode if you're in a situation like a school play where you don't want the flash going off in the middle of things, or
if
recital.
You're someone like my wife, who hates the color that the flash gives to photos. Yeah.
If you're a little more advanced, you can put it into program mode. There's no full manual exposure option. Program mode lets you change the white balance and the ISO manually. It also lets you do exposure compensation, so you can brighten or darken a scene.
Okay. Any more questions out there?
Well, no real questions. We do have some troll questions if you want to take those.
Let's hear one.
Okay. Should I marry my girlfriend's sister? No other information is given.
Yes.
I think that may depend on foundational aspects of your culture as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Canon PowerShot Elph 190 IS.
Oh, we should mention also available in blue or red.
Also available in blue or red, $160. If you do not have a high-end smartphone and you are someone who is looking for a simple, inexpensive photography solution, this is our editor's choice for cheap cameras. Is that what we're calling it?
Right, and it's the first one we've had in a while because we were looking at these and saying, well, why buy this instead of smartphone? But then we got reader feedback saying, this is what I want. There's still demand for this. It might be a small demand, but it's vocal. So this is our pick.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jim. We will be back. I will be back at 3 o'clock this afternoon for Dialed In, our show about phones, where we'll be talking about all the things we expect to be coming out of the huge trade show IFA in Berlin, which is happening this week. It is raining phones this week, let me tell you that. 3 o'clock for that, 10 a.m. tomorrow for another great, cool thing from the PC Mag Labs.